there is something called the Florida Solar Energy Center, which is up here in Central Florida, FSEC, who do research and work with all the cities and counties around Florida on work with utilities on solar energy, surprisingly from their name. And they hold an event once a year. It's coming up pretty soon. And I heard our next speaker speak at that event. There was a session on electrification. And you know, I've been a Tesla fanboy for 12 years and I know more than I need to know about Tesla. But I think it's refreshing every now and again to maybe open our blinkers and learn a little bit about what else is going on. So we had Zach earlier talking about the rest of the industry. David Dunn, facilities director, division manager of facilities for the city of Orlando. It used to be Fleet as well. Trying to retire, I think, but they won't let him. Has quite an incredible story, in my opinion, about the work that Orlando has done to move to a renewable fleet, to implement solar for the city. And given that we are up in the center of the state, I thought it was very apropos that David come up and tell us a little bit about his story and throw a few statistics around that just staggered me when I heard them. And hopefully you'll find it interesting as well. So, David Dunn.
Thank you, Nick. Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm wearing 3 hats today. My City of Orlando hat, my Central Florida Clean Cities Coalition hat, and my Drive Electric Florida hat. Both agencies that I would love to see you participate with. I did about 8 years on anti-submarine warfare helicopters when I was in the Navy, and I've appreciated all the speakers we've had here today, particularly the veterans. And then I did 23 years working on the space shuttle before I went to the Orlando area in 2006. But I never gave up my home here in Rockledge, so I still live in Brevard County. I commute back and forth. In fact, I drove here today in a Ford F-150 Lightning, and I love it. It's out there in the parking lot if you want to take a look at it. But the question I've got today, I want to talk a lot about infrastructure, what we've done in the city of Orlando. You're going to hear me talk about Greenworks Orlando, which has been driven by Mayor Dyer, and all the fun stuff I've done in my career. I love the job I've got now the most. I get to do, I'm an old tree hugger, you know, so I get to do sustainability every day. It's just part of my job, and it's a lovely thing for me to do. So I want to talk a little bit about, are you plugged in and charging right now? I know there's only one charger out there. So is the current need greater than the available capacity of ready technology and public-facing chargers? And if you're searching for a place to plug in now, I say the answer is yes. Last year, we deployed 100 dual-head chargers, public-facing in the city of Orlando, and we're on track to do another 100 this year. Now, you know, and it's still not enough. Through Central Florida Clean Cities Coalition and Drive Electric Florida, we're working on the infrastructure of chargers along the evacuation routes. You could be a member of that team and help us, because we need more. We just need places to plug in, because people, if they're going to buy EVs, not everybody can just plug in at home and make that quick trip back and forth. Oh, this is going to go fast. Okay. So, with all of these hats on, one of the reasons it's important to me is in 2007, the mayor decided to start something called Greenworks Orlando. And one of the goals I inherited was Goal 5. I was only running facilities back then. In 2011, I took over fleet as well. So Goal 5 says we're going to run the entire fleet. Originally, it said on 100% renewables by 2030. And the renewable market and the technology we can buy hasn't moved fast enough to make that happen. So a big part of this is to expand to alt fuels. And we made a change about 4 years ago. Excuse me one second. To go to alt fuels instead of renewables. only because there's more alt-fuel technology available for me and infrastructure available for me to make that happen. So we have over 4,000 assets in our fleet. It keeps growing, and every time that we have an ICE vehicle due for replacement, we look at the mission model. What do you need to be able to do your job? And whatever technology supports that is what we provide. I can't buy a Tesla yet. The mayor would like to have one, but he wants one the size of a Ford Expedition. Not available yet. But we have literally every other thing we can put our hands on. So obviously the alt-fuel story involves more than just EV. And we are currently, by the way, you're going to get my presentation if you want it. Nick has it on PDF. But we're running everything but hydrogen right now. Now, hydrogen, there is a way I could get it off of my current CNG line, but it's kind of cheating to strip that hydrogen molecule out. But I could do it, but there's no technology available to me in a public sector market that works for me yet. When it comes, we're going to do it. So, Central Florida Clean Cities Coalition, who's involved in the Clean Cities group right now? Anybody? Wow. There's one. Okay. Clean Cities Coalitions, there's 4 in the state of Florida: Jacksonville, South Florida, Orlando, and Tampa St. Pete. This is an organization that's funded by the DOE. It's volunteers like us, like many of you. And Clean Cities around the state can help you grow, and you can help us grow this market of people that are trying to make a change. So I would encourage you to connect with one of these. You can help us, and we can help you. We do have an expo coming up at FSEC. It's going to be next year, and that's going to be headed by the Clean Cities Coalition. So I would encourage you to think about joining us there. You can reach out to Elizabeth or Doug and be a part of that event. Drive Electric Florida, who's involved in that? I know you are. You're going to be at the meeting. Anybody else involved in Drive Electric Florida? Okay. Drive Electric Florida, we have a meeting next Friday at FSEC. I would encourage you to think about participating there. Drive Electric Florida is a big organization trying to make a change, and it really affects what you drive, what you do, and the infrastructure. And you can be a part of growing this entire infrastructure in the state. That's the meeting we're going to have next week. I encourage you to consider joining. Like I said, I used to run fleet and facilities with the city of Orlando. I'm trying to retire, right, Debbie? Eventually. So I've been running the fleet and the facilities organizations for many years. Now, all of the work that we do together affects the infrastructure. We put out 100 chargers last year. We're putting 100 chargers out this year. We did 10 buildings with solar last year. We're doing another 10 this year. And we're doing some on-site storage. And we partner with OUC, which I love to say is wholly owned by the city of Orlando. They don't like it when I say that, but you know, we have this symbiotic relationship. And because of that, they're involved with us as we grow our market. The 100 chargers that we put out last year, we paid OUC to do that distribution and to do the maintenance on them. OUC is the Orlando's Utilities Commission. That is the utility in Orlando that we work with. And by paying them, you know, we work together to develop where do we need to put these public chargers. We looked at the current infrastructure that supported those chargers. We had to do some infrastructure upgrades. But in doing that, we were able to get, in essence, 200 more ports out there. Now one of the things we did, I like to undersell and over-deliver. So Mayor Dyer said he wanted 100 chargers. We didn't tell him we were doing dual head. So we ended up with 200, which was a good thing. And when we did the ribbon cutting, he was so surprised by that. He said, "Could you do more?" Naturally, we said yes. And almost everything we've done sustainably, we've done it by underselling and over-delivering. And the mayor loves to drive the new tech as well. He likes to do press conferences and drive the new stuff. Excuse me. So we bought this year. This is a Danner mobile power station. This piece of equipment operates with a remote control. It's the size of a game system. Something you see all the kids playing with today. You operate this piece of equipment with that remote. As long as you have a line of sight, it'll operate up to a mile away. We bought this, it's all electric, and we bought this intending to replace about 18 pieces of heavy equipment. This is stuff that sits in yards all year long. We PM it, we maintain it, we collect replacement against it, but we're going to get rid of about 18 pieces of equipment by just buying the attachments to go on this. And Gary Danner is the same age as me. He's the guy that developed this. I've told him I think of a good visual, because you can charge your EV off it too. It's like a generator. So I've suggested the visual could be, you take a bunch of EVs and put them around it, plug them in like pigs at a trough, sucking all that power right out. But we use it in Lake Eola too, so that we don't have to have a diesel generator out there when we have big events. This is called a yard dog, manufactured by Orange EV. We bought 2 of these, and it replaces a diesel tractor at our water reclamation sites. This is all electric, same thing, never goes on the road, stays on the sites, but they used to use diesel-powered tractors to do that. On top of this, we've got hybrids, 237 CNG vehicles, a wide variety of EVs, LSEVs, and our newest addition. We put this into motor pool. We have about 900 or so pickup trucks, and a pickup is the hardest thing for me to replace. I can't buy any, I've been looking at electric pickup trucks as they've been coming down the road. I really can't buy a Rivian and give that to somebody out in Family Parks and Recreation. So I think this particular truck, we have one, the other one's coming. I think this particular truck is going to solve many of our problems to get over that 2030 goal, that hurdle that we have to hit, which won't be mine because I'll retire, but I can't just kick it down the road. You guys all know the cost of EVs keeps coming down. I know there was conversation about we're going to be driven to get to them. I like the idea. I think it makes sense. But without the infrastructure, it'll never happen. So I'm a big promoter of the infrastructure. In fact, I like to think about the fact that what was science fiction when I was a kid is pretty much reality today. So much of what we have today that we're benefiting from was sci-fi when we were younger. The Electrification Coalition is another organization. Anybody else a part of that? Anybody? Well, I've introduced you to 3 now, but I think you'd be benefited by joining, and they would benefit by your involvement as well. I like this quote. I'm just going to let you read it. I'm not going to quote it myself. I grew up with a science fiction paperback in my hip pocket, and the world is going to continue to change. It's never going to stop. We see that, we know it, and I'm grateful for it because we have an opportunity. All of you that are driving EVs right now are leaving this place better than we found it. You're making a positive difference. So I am unsanitary because we are putting our money where our mouth is. We have a lot of solar already, and we're going to put more out there. We have 100% design of an additional solar array at Fleet. I'll show you a picture of our Fleet garage, which has 425 kW on it already. We were going to hit the market with this. We went out for bid, and steel cost shut it down. The cost of the project came in so much higher than what I had budgeted because of what we've seen in the world over the last several years. So the cost came in about twice what I had in the budget for it. But what we've done to make it happen, because the city is so committed, and I talk about the CFO for the city of Orlando, that's who I report to. Being a part of the budget office, the Office of Business and Financial Services, makes it easier for me to ask for money and to show what we can do if we get it. So on top of the Fleet garage is 425 kW right now. We were originally going to put the 280 kW that we expected to get over this area right here on the bottom of the picture, and that's where we park motor pool. Because of the cost, we couldn't afford to do it. So I shelved the project until next year. So we're going to move the project, 280 kW, to these other 3 buildings on our 10-acre site. That'll give me 230 kW, but I won't have the steel cost. So with the money we've got now, we can make this happen. And the cool thing for me is that this entire 10-acre site becomes a net zero property for the city of Orlando. It'll be on my first one. I mentioned OUC. They're going to buy the battery, and we're going to do on-site storage. We're also going to charge 32 of our EVs off of that same grid. And in the future, we expect more growth. I've got 72 ports for CNG charging right now. We're adding 12. And in the future, I see us adding additional solar on this site. Like I said, we're doing 10 buildings a year. This will simply augment what we've already done. Greenworks Orlando, when it began, was Mayor Dyer's idea. It was just an initiative. And it had to do with buildings to begin with. Mayor Dyer wanted to be able to say we had LEED certified buildings. We didn't have any. He actually wanted to set the bar. Anybody know what USGBC LEED standards are? They're relative to buildings. So you've got LEED, silver, gold, and platinum buildings. They all cost a little more, but you get a different return on investment for each one of them. So when we launched Greenworks Orlando in 2007, it has grown and morphed to a point where it touches every single thing inside city government and outside of the citizens in Orlando. Mayor Dyer comes over for press conferences, drives new vehicles, and neither one of us can believe how much of this has grown and impacted Orlando as it has morphed. So our legacy of a sustainable footprint is pretty well known. And we're not done. We're going to keep driving further forward. We're going to make more things happen. They just initiated another tree planting process. We're going to make Orlando and the Central Florida region more sustainable than it's ever been, which is good because he'll now have to run for at least one more term, which is good because I'm an appointed official and I only serve at his pleasure. But we're not finished. But with your help, if you'll join any of the Clean Cities coalitions, if you'll join Drive Electric Florida, ask Nick about it, he knows too, you can help benefit and help us collectively make more of a change than we've made so far. There's a lot more, but I guess I could do a couple of questions maybe.
Yeah, I got one question for you. So you talked about you've got a fleet of 900 pickups, you said,
Yeah.
of which you have 2 F1 Lightnings, I think?
I have to.
So, and I know you're retiring, but you must be thinking about this. Realistically, based on what you've seen and the suppliers you've spoken to, the OEMs, how long before it's realistic for you to make a significant dent in the electrification of that fleet?
It only depends on how fast we can get them. We exchange vehicles every 7 years. That's a typical life cycle. Jonathan Ford, who was my fleet manager, who was promoted to become division manager for fleet, he's got this same goal he has to meet. We're running about 92 to 94% of the on-road vehicles on some alt fuels already. Aside from the pickup trucks and the police department and the fire department, we've hit everything else we can do. But we're running even fire apparatus on biodiesel. We're running a wide variety of vehicles on E85, and we've got a wide variety of hybrids. But I think we're going to hit the goal before 2030 if the technology will become available for us to buy it. Being a public sector fleet, first time I was asked if I was going to buy a Tesla for the mayor, I said, sure, I'll be happy to do that. But when you think about the dynamics of the rest of the fleet and emissions those people have to meet, a Tesla sedan just doesn't fit. A Cybertruck doesn't fit. But a Ford F-150, that platform will replace a lot of trucks. We have converted police to some of the Ford Explorer hybrids, which have worked. The police department and the fire department have gone to Nissan Leafs, Chevy Bolts, the Toyota Camry hybrid, which has been a huge success for us because they don't break. They just come in for PM. So I think we're going to actually hit the whole mark before the goal.
Okay. And I think I remember when you spoke at FSEC, you said one of the biggest impediments to making some of the changes was that the vehicles just don't exist yet. Like the refuse trucks, for example, that you can't buy an electric refuse truck.
Which is why we went to CNG. The amount of range that a solid waste truck has to run during a day to run the route, get to the landfill, get back home, is just too great for the existing technology. We looked at some of the BYD trucks, but they don't have the capacity. And if you add more and more batteries to that weight load, that creates other issues. So battery technology changing and getting to the point to where these big heavy-duty trucks can run on battery with less of a weight load are going to make it happen for us. But battery technology keeps changing faster and faster.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll paraphrase what you said, but you talked at the beginning about moving. The original goal was renewable energy, and you changed that to alternate. Do you see that as a temporary situation that ultimately, you want to get back to being 100% renewable?
If the infrastructure of renewables were available to us, the one piece that I was looking for was renewable natural gas, getting that put into the pipeline. When we take water reclamation as an example, we have 3 significant sites where, no good way to say this, when you flush the toilet, that stuff's got to be dealt with, and the methane that off gases could be captured and put back into that renewable natural gas pipe. That would be part of a renewable for us. But having the renewable infrastructure out there, that's a hard piece for us to get. I can buy vehicles that'll run on a wide variety of fuels, but having a real renewable structure that's feeding that fuel cycle. There's a new one getting ready to open up down by Okeechobee. I might let the cat out of the bag here, but in Africa for years they have been taking the river hyacinth that clogs the rivers, and they take that plant, they strip all of the foliage off of it and use the stem, and it turns into a biofuel. And it burns at it's a higher octane, burns cleaner, and produces more BTUs than typical biodiesel does. Well, they're getting ready to open a plant down in Okeechobee to do just that. So another fuel stream is going to be made available.
Cool. Very good. All righty. We've got time for a couple of questions, and then we will move on.
Hi. How much influence do you have with the rest of Florida? I mean, the other cities and stuff? Because, I mean, I think this is fantastic what you're doing. And it'd be great if others, take upon what you've done and apply it to other cities, because it's fantastic.
It's a good question. In 2007, when Greenworks Orlando was first initiated, I made myself available for free to everybody in Brevard County because I've been in Brevard County since 1966. And it was kind of like a prophet in his hometown. Nobody wanted to hear from the kid from Rockledge. You know, they got their own ideas. Since then, I've talked to mostly every agency in Brevard County and others. Orlando has inadvertently become a source of sustainability in the region, so we get great opportunities to speak. And as long as I have my city hat on, I can continue to do that. But I have so much passion for this topic that when the time does come and I retire, I can't go sit on the couch. Like I said, I'm an old tree hugger. We got to make this planet better. And if I can do that by going out and talking to people about this, sharing what we've done, maybe helping break through some of those obstacles in the way, I intend to do that.
I live in Orlando. I've got a Tesla in the driveway and 6.4 kilowatts of solar on the roof. And solar in Florida was so much harder to do than Maryland and Delaware, in that I have to connect my solar to the power line and then I have to bring it back from the street. And it's weird. And there's no credits down here, but that's neither here nor there. I've got two questions for you. And you may dislike them, and I apologize in advance. Number one,
Take anything.
yeah, what's your best shot at coming up with what you can get now, what you see coming just within a year? What's your best shot for a patrol vehicle that might be all electric, and if you considered them? And number two, and this is the one you may not like, and feel free to dodge the question. I'm deadly serious. You don't have to answer it. Are you getting pushback from state government on some of your green initiatives based that you think might be based in politics?
Let's take that second question first. I'm an appointed official. I am not an employee. I work at the pleasure of the mayor, who is our #1 champion in the city of Orlando. I don't report to the state. I report to Mayor Dyer, who reports to the citizens. And as long as Mayor Dyer is in office and he allows me to have free run to do whatever we can do that makes fiscal responsible decisions, I can do it. Do you live in the city limits? So I work for you. Glad you're here. But your first question, would you mind repeating that to me?
Have you been looking at patrol vehicles that could be used that are all electric, and what's the closest you've been able to come to? I know nobody's custom making an all electric patrol vehicle yet. I'm not talking about a meter made type vehicle. I'm talking about an actual patrol vehicle.
Well, it is my hope. Mayor Dyer's favorite vehicle is a Ford Expedition. He likes that size vehicle. For years, he's been asking me to find him something that fits into this alternative aside from E85. I think the closest organization to be able to deliver a real patrol vehicle for me is liable to be Ford. I think the success that they're seeing in the F-150 Lightning, I think that's going to set the stage for what they can do. You've had a lot of positive talk about Ford today. Ford didn't go bankrupt. Ford didn't take money from the federal government. I think Ford has a chance of bringing it. The most difficult thing that I have to deal with when it comes to the police department is, David, I'm in a chase. I've been out on patrol all day, and the guy in front of me just took off at 90 miles an hour, and I got about 10% of my battery left. What the hell do I do? And it's a valid question. But if we're smart and we think about, I mean, that vehicle, that police officer is not going to be in a chase by himself. But by and large, if we had more infrastructure of level 3 and superchargers where I'm on patrol, maybe, and I talked to the folks at Wawa, we buy more fuel from Wawa than anybody else. And I think it's because the patrol officers like going there. It's always got clean bathrooms. You got good servicing people. So when Wawa asked us, they actually give us money back on every dollar we spend. They said, what can we do to serve you better? I said, well, let me see. Electric charging stations would be a good start. CNG at your station would be a good start. We'll come there more frequently. But that infrastructure piece that I started with, you know, I see that as the biggest stopper of EVs truly coming to market. Does that answer your question?
Cool.
A Model 3 doesn't have a lot of room in the back for a prisoner. They like room in the back.
As with every single session that we've done, I really wish I didn't have to cut it on time, but we've still got a lot to go through. So thank you, David Dunn. Are you going to be around for a while, David, if people have more questions? Cool. Thank you so much. David will be around if you've got some more questions.